Good morning, everyone. My name is MightyStream, and I'm going to do our April the 16th, just for today, in a meditation. If you need to reach me, feel free to do so at recoveryofhope21@gmail.com. The title of the meditation for today, Acting as If, that comes from page 110 in the meditation book. It says, today we seek solutions, not problems. We try what we have learned on an experimental basis. That comes from the basic text, page 58. The first time we heard that we should act as if, many of us exclaimed, but that's not honest. I thought we were always supposed to be honest about our feelings in Narcotics Anonymous. Perhaps we can reflect on when we first came into the program. We may not have believed in God, but we prayed anyway. Or maybe we weren't sure the program would work for us, but we kept coming to meetings regardless of what we thought. The same applies as we progress in recovery. We may be terrified of crowds, but if we act confidently and extend our hand, we'll not only feel better about ourselves, we'll find that we are no longer so frightened of large gatherings. Each action we take in this vein brings us closer to becoming the people we were meant to be. Each positive change we make builds our self-esteem. Through acting differently, we will realize that we are beginning to think differently. We are living ourselves into right thinking by acting as if. Just for today, I will take the opportunity to act as if I can accept a situation I used to run from. Let's take a moment of silence, followed by the we version of the Serenity Prayer. Moment of silence now, please. Thank you. God, grant us the serenity to accept the things that we cannot change, the courage to change the things that we can, and the wisdom to know the difference. You know, I'm not sure if I said that prayer right or not. It seems like it's hard for me to connect the dots from one moment to the next. And I understand today that that is a direct result of the lack of self-care. So I hope you're taking really good care of yourselves. I hope you are getting the rest that you need and you're giving yourself the food that you need, brain food that you need, no more, but what it needs to function properly. And so those are areas that I personally, MightyStream, needs to work on. So we're talking about acting as if. Now, I know most of you have heard this because I've heard it long as I can remember. Act as if. And I always thought the same thing. Isn't that a bit dishonest? You want me to act as if everything is all right? Come on, you told me to be in touch with my feelings. You know what I found out is that I would apply spiritual principles such as optimism and positivity, hopeful thinking, faithful thinking, having faith, having hope. I would apply these spiritual principles to my benefit. I was very selective, and I picked and chose when and if I would apply a positive spiritual principle. I was so conflicted. And I learned, you know what? I learned in Narcotics Anonymous the term for having duality, right? Saying one thing and doing something different, thinking one thing and doing something different, right? I learned in a negative sense, I learned that that was called conflicted, right? I stopped calling myself a hypocrite, right? Because using the term hypocrite automatically took me back into religiosity. Now, conflicted and hypocrite, they pretty much mean the same thing, right? They pretty much mean the same thing, but one carries a little less religiosity and a little less weight when you say it about yourself. So I found myself being conflicted. I wanted one thing, but I felt a certain way, or I did something different. I applied positive spiritual principles selectively. And I began to analyze through working with a sponsor, why was I so conflicted? Well, you know what? I'm just going to say this, and I'm not sure who can relate or not. I hope you can, but this is just my experience, strength, and hope, okay? I found out that the reason why I would be so selective was because I was a people pleaser, right? I would select what spiritual principles I was going to apply based on what response I thought I was going to get. It really didn't have a whole lot to do with what I wanted or didn't want. Now, my core value was a lot of positivity, right? It was positive. It did want the right thing. It wanted to do the right thing. But a lot of times I would go directly against that, not applying spiritual positive principles. If it meant that I could fit in, if it meant that I could hang out a little bit tougher, right? And then I would be the one that had to pay the price for my conflicted behavior, my conflict between my core value and my actions. So now we're talking about acting as if. This is a 5-star. It's a very short meditation, but this is one that if you still are using the book itself, the paper copy of this book, you want to bend your page back and write 5-star on that bend so you can come back to it. And you want to write this in the back of your basic text. Acting as if, 5-star, April 16th, right? When my actions and my beliefs don't match, right? You want to put a little note, a little memo to yourself. See, in the back of my basic text, there's tons of memos like that where I write my own references. I don't need the index necessarily. I have my own index, things that mean something to me. And this is a 5-star. You know why? I'll tell you really briefly. Because it analyzes the thought behind thinking when you hear act as if is wrong, inappropriate, or the opposite of what we're being taught about honesty, but how we were able to still keep coming back to meetings when we actually didn't believe that this program was going to work for us. When we were actually able to go to a big setting, a large setting such as a convention, and survive it, even though we told ourselves we don't do crowds, we don't do people, right? So it just highlights how often in life we actually already do this. And generally, stepping out in faith results in positive results. This is simply the same thing, acting as if. Today, we seek solutions, not problems. We try what we have learned on an experimental basis. That basically is saying you don't have all the answers and you never will. But if you can use the spiritual principles to guide you into right action, even if you're conflicted, 9 times out of 10, it has been proven, meaning thousands and thousands of other addicts have gone before you, taking these positive steps, writing these positive 12 steps, having a positive sponsorship relationship, making meetings on a regular basis. We have done many of these acts, and the result has been, first and foremost, we were able to do what? Stay clean. We were able to survive negative situations without picking up. So we're just leaning into what the experience shows us, what we can actually see, what we've actually heard at the tables. People talking about bad situations that they stayed clean in. And I believe if I can do it, you can do it. My name is Mighty Stream. I've enjoyed talking to you today. I want for you to have a beautiful day on purpose. I want for you to do that, conflicted or not. I want for you to have a beautiful day on purpose. Every situation that comes your way, I want you to analyze it from the scope of the April 16th meditation today. And I want you to push through it with positivity. Because if you don't do it for yourself, I guarantee you, it just won't get done because no one else will. Today, we take care of our recovery. Talk to you tomorrow.